Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Wald. It's my joy to be on the air. I want to thank Eric, my manager, the studio manager, and all of that operations for always helping me out and getting the good show going. I actually, let me just say, number one, we who believe in freedom cannot rest,
Mhm.
and I think that's what this is about right now. And we just got a renewed spirit. And I'll have my next guest on will be after Mr. Rye and Mr. Mason will be Acacia Salisbury. So anyway, I'm just happy to be on the air. You know, I love radio. What can I say? I grew up with it, so I'm a radio girl. How you doing, Mister? How you doing, Mr. Rye?
I'm doing fine. I was a radio guy too because I remember first time I seen a television, it was a little small black and white thing. So we used to listen. My father and I used to listen to the baseball game, the boxing matches. It was on radio, so I know exactly what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
still relevant. It's still relevant today, and with the technology, people can hear you 24/7. Eric
yeah.
at the radio station works that out though. But
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
we're talking about fighting for our freedom, and you had a gentleman on a couple of weeks ago has filed several federal complaints. Black truckers are having to sell their trucks and their equipment to survive. So his name is Elton Mason, and he takes all the action. His father was J.D. Mason, president of Independent Black Truckers and Excavators. So he's been around this industry since he's about 12 or 13 years old, driving a truck since he's 14 because he's got a big kid. But Elton, why don't you share with the listening audience exactly what's happening right now and what actions are you taking to get African Americans, truckers, on the jobs?
Well, just recently, hi there. Thanks for having me on again. um,
Welcome.
so as of a week ago, I filed a Title VI, another Title VI complaint, which is Title VI supposed
Let
to
people know what a
prohibit.
Title VI is. What is a Title VI?
Well, it prohibits discrimination. It's supposed to. It sounds good. It's supposed to prohibit discrimination. I mean, level the playing field. And I mean, in any and everything that we do. But yeah, it's just in state contracting. It's just alive and well. I mean, it's continuous and ongoing behavior. It's just been a struggle to get work, to get contracts, state contracts, federal funded contracts in Washington State. I just so happened uh, uh, to be
Who'd you file
discriminated
a
against.
Title VI? Who'd you file a Title VI complaints against?
So I filed it against the Federal Highway Administration, along with the um, uh, federal highways and the Federal Transit Administration, as well as Sound Transit, the State of Washington, Department of Transportation, and it's a complaint that I'm just being discriminated. Black truckers are being discriminated on every state contract that's it's a federal funded contract that's put out. Um, I'm just kind of stuttering here because it's just so much. It's just overwhelming. It's just so much that's coming at me. So I filed this complaint, included the Justice Department, along with USDOT, Office of Inspector General, just any and everybody that's supposed to do something about this complaint when it's filed.
Now,
And
Nelton, what what I thought that right now they had outreach for to recruit people, and also how can a decertified firm continue to maintain all the contracts on the current jobs they're on?
well, this current um, company that was formed years ago, fraudulently formed, had graduated from the minority program that wasn't supposed to be in there in the first place.
Was it a
Now
female?
they
Was it a female?
well, it was supposedly a female, white-owned
Okay,
female
yeah, but
trucking
she was
company.
front. She was the front for her father, a brother, a cousin, or something like that, probably.
For her husband at the time,
Okay,
claiming that she has the experience and controls a multi-million-dollar trucking operation. When it turns out that King 5 News had did a profile on her and several other front companies that had gotten certified in the minority program, but her background only consists of working at a coffee shop.
wow.
When all of a sudden, she's in a multi-million-dollar trucking operation.
Mm.
So they ended up graduating out of the program, and now they have defrauded the taxpayers, defrauded the system again. They had self-certified that their company meets the small business um, uh, qualifications in order to be in that program as well. You're not supposed to have over 51 employees and or annually do 7 million a year. They do over $100 million a year, and they've got over 100 employees. I've complained about this company for years. Nothing's been done. They've finally been thrown out of the program uh, uh, January of this year, and
What?
these prime contractors continue to give them hundreds of millions of dollars of work.
Well, have you
So,
thought about going to Channel 5? They do a lot of investigation of the state. I mean, you might get some. They might do something for you, or get Jesse. I mean, to take it to
well,
a sit.
yeah, I did that. I actually CC Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 13, all the news stations.
But the
But
only one that does the investigation is 5, and 5 does them. 5 investigates the state quite often. I mean,
right,
the rest
Channel
of them
4
don't.
does as well.
Oh,
I so the problem that I have is that in 2012, when I first filed my Title VI, it brought the feds from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, Washington. It took them a long time to get here because they said that they couldn't believe what was going on. We've got a governmental agency that's taken billions of their tax dollars, of our tax dollars, and they're out of compliance of a uh, um, they're in compliance of a federal funded grant. They're out of compliance. And so when they got here and investigated and went back to DC, they sat on my complaint for another 8 months. Now my statute of limitations are gone because they
right.
said it
Because
was
they sat
even
on it.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
said it was even worse.
worse. Well,
That, yeah.
it just seems to me that we got the Black Caucus, and I don't know what Patty Murray or either Maria Cantwell can do for you. I don't know if you approach them. I mean, Maria Cantwell was really instrumental in helping us save Branchville. I mean, many,
Mm,
many, many years ago. That's when she
mm,
was really kind of active in doing things for African Americans. But I haven't seen her lately. But I don't
it-
know. I mean, it seems to me like that somebody in the state as a congressional Adam Smith or somebody should be able to look in this for you.
Well,
I,
to kind of answer your question about
yeah,
the news station, the WASDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, started hiring some staff from every news station so that they can control what's being reported at WASDOT. So now on Channel 5, Channel 4, they ignore my the information that I'm sending them, which is they're defrauding the taxpayers to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. Our own AG, our state AG, will not touch this company. They will not. They will continue to let this company defraud the taxpayers of Washington State.
well, yeah,
This
I
is an
guess, I guess, I guess.
outrage.
Well, I guess they just really don't care.
yeah.
I mean,
But
You
here,
know,
because you're
let
not
me.
getting, you're not getting.
I just want to make one quick point. November 23rd, 2021, 22 individuals, organizations, including Reverend Harriet Wallen, Bishop Reggie Witherspoon, the Seattle NAACP, the Area Conference NAACP, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, the Tacoma NAACP, Tacoma Black Collective, the Economic Development Committee of the Black Collective, several other pastors filed a complaint. And Merrick Garland got the complaint, sent it over to the Department of Transportation. Congressman Benny Thompson, Congressman Adam Smith, Senator Patty Murray, and Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland all wrote letters in support of our complaint. But we've not heard one word, as far as I'm concerned. Merrick Garland is probably, for Black folks, the worst attorney general ever. And hopefully President Biden will visit that, because that's one of the reasons why there's a diminished kind of enthusiasm for his current administration, because of the fact it lacks justice. And we've been waiting 3 years. We've been told by Merrick Garland's office, and they always have Kristen Clark, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, signed the off on, we're not going to do anything. It's been over 3 years, nothing has happened, and that's where we are now. So we have to go and get Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland and Senator Patty Murray and Congressman Adam Smith to revisit this and try to put some pressure, because nothing has changed. We got a company that's been decertified, but yet they're still on the job.
Well,
Elton was part of a group of 10 Black truckers, a couple of others, that went to an outreach session on a contract, and the contract had already been awarded.
well,
So,
but it seems to me that we're not going to get any relief, and I don't know what the next step is going to be. I mean, you're not going to get anything from the far right, and I mean from the Republicans too much. And now, so this has been going on, and I don't know how we can get enough support in the community to put some pressure on some of the elected, Maria Cantwell and the senator. I mean, and then you got we have some people that in the House of Representatives. I mean, Adam Smith has been there forever. I mean, so but this is good to get it out. But I mean, it seems to me that even the governor won't do anything. I mean, that's why
You
I say
know,
Washington State is the Mississippi of the West. They ran me out of business, took my business, took Mr. Brandt's business. It's the Mississippi of the West to do business for Black people when you're doing business with the state. I mean, and all that money that you're talking about is Title VI and Title X money that affirmative action, getting rid of affirmative action in the state of Washington has nothing to do with that. I mean,
that's
all
right,
those
federal
dollars should have been
dollars.
going out, and Gregoire didn't send any money when she was there. When the stimulus money came from Obama, she made sure that money went to small counties that had very few African American businesses. So, I mean, I just think that the doing business here is just horrible, and I just would advise you to, for me, for my own knowing, is to get in touch with the senators. I mean, those two senators, to put some pressure on them. Somebody's running this year.
you so this is all I know is that I exposed a broken system in 2012. When that complaint came back to Washington State from the Federal Highway Administration, it had my name on it. It made nationwide news. We were at the top of the forefront in contracting and transportation, I mean, exposure with these front companies, and because this is a nationwide issue.
Well, it's a nationwide issue, and we're going to be running out. We're just probably over our segment right now, but I just want to know exactly what is your ask for the community. What are you asking for us to do? If we
We
could
have
we
to
could.
I know we have to get engaged. We have to come together because
Well, but I mean, what specifically are you asking?
Adam Smith and Adam Smith, Senator Patty Murray, and Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland have sent letters already. We need to have them to re-engage
Okay.
and demand some justice from
Okay, well then
Merrick Garland.
that sounds like there's something that mothers can get behind. I
That's
mean, if
great.
we want to send some more letters out, I
Yeah.
mean, mothers would put our name on those letters because we want economic justice, and we know that last week was the anniversary of the burning up the Black Wall Street. So I mean,
Yeah.
economic justice is been long coming in America. And the ones who have a business, even the guy who owned the weather station didn't, I mean, they almost
Yeah.
tried to knock him out. So
They did. Boy, I tell you.
yeah, so but this is we thank you so much for coming on, and when you get the letters and stuff ready, let us know, and when we'll be willing to sign on to ask them to get re-engaged in this issue, because economic development is really a civil rights issue for us, because everybody else come to America and they can get economic development, and they keep us right in a little place. But this has been good information, and make sure you let us know when you're ready to get to the next level, so we can talk about, let our listeners know that you've already sent out some more letters to these people.
Yes, Reverend
And
Harry, and
and maybe
also
maybe other folks can also call them up once we know the letters go out.
exactly, and the worst form of economic discrimination is economic discrimination.
It
That
is. It
impacts
really
the
is. It
whole
really is,
family, the whole
because that's
community.
right. But
Yeah,
that's the way they want to fill the prisons up. There's a
yeah.
reason why you're economic, because the man don't have no bread and his children is crying hungry. He's gonna probably steal a loaf. So steal
Yeah.
a loaf of bread. Le misera.
Economic apartheid.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Thank you so much,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mason and Mr. Rye. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Reverend
Thank
Harry.
you.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you.
Listen to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. We'll take a break and we'll be right back to bring my next guest on. Thank you.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
Hello, I'm Ruth.
And I'm Ronnie.
And together, we're the voices behind the show, God is Around. Our main goal is to refocus Jesus as the center of our hearts and to reach out to those who feel burdened by the weight of today's world. Tune into God is Around, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on 11:50 a.m. KKNW, and Saturdays at 5 a.m. on Warm 106.9 FM. For more uplifting and inspirational readings, visit our website, bloggingwithronnie.com.
Find out the latest about your favorite shows on Alternative Talk 1150. Check out 1150kknw.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on there. I love radio. That's a wonderful song. It's out of South Africa. Mary McKeever, I bless her heart. She was called Mother Africa. And she lost her citizenship in South Africa and had to spend some time in America. Married Snooky Carmichael. Eventually went back to South Africa. So anyway, I'm glad that I'm bringing on my next guest now, Miss Acacia Salisbury. She's been to the continent many times, and she's going to come on and talk about her latest trip there and some insights about East Africa, because she's been around. How you doing, Miss Salisbury?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. True transparency. This is my granddaughter. I always tell the truth. So yeah, I'm good today. And it was just raining this morning. Like it felt like it's almost was fall today, early on. But now, that lucky old sun is out there and it's shining so brightly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a little cloudy, but mostly sunny here in Atlanta.
All right. So hey, you've been to the continent many times, and all other places. You might touch on some of the other places you've traveled, because most Americans have not traveled. I mean, although you see a lot of people on the cruise ships, I've never been on one, but you might have been on one. But but most Americans do not have a passport, and so you've been around. You've been around many places, and so just hop in and just talk about your trips and about your experiences and your latest trip where you took your aunt. You might want to talk about her experience, how she enjoyed it, and yeah, and also I know you'll find graduated Wagner Scott there in Decatur, Georgia. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this time I went to Tanzania I was in Dar es Salaam and Zanzibar for about a month. And my aunt came with me. It was her first time on the continent. She was there for about the first week. And we went around Zanzibar. And, I think even for me, this trip was really different. I grew up going to Tanzania. My dad lived there for many years, and that's part of the reason that's where that connection comes in. But it was really different this time, I think, going as an adult. Last time I was there, I was 16. Um, and always the images that like Americans see of the continent is never the actuality of what life is like
Wow.
in Africa. You know what I mean? There's 54 countries, hundreds of languages spoken. There's so much diversity. There's so much more infrastructure.
Right.
Dar es Salaam's a city that has millions of people. It's one of the, I think it is the largest city in East Africa. Um,
Wow.
and so I think when I was there, it was even just taking in how much things had changed in the last 10 years. There's so much development that is occurring. And I think even for my aunt, because it was her first time,
Mm-hmm.
traveling to any country in the continent, it was just such a huge contrast between like the images you see and the messaging you see versus
No
like the
Tarzan swinging from
actuality.
the trees, eh?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. The actuality of life is
Mm-hmm.
very different. And obviously, I think when people think East Africa specifically, they think the Serengeti, they think about the wildlife and the nature.
Right.
But there is so much outside of just, the nature in Tanzania to see and experience and connect to. There's so much history. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I can't even, I think one of the biggest things is even, like just pace of life is very different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, as we talk a lot about me and you, we
Mm-hmm.
talk a lot about, how racism or being isolated can really wear down the soul and the spirit. And there's something very rejuvenative, I think, about being in a space where that isn't something that you're experiencing.
Wow. I've never really had that experience because I have not gone, but I do plan to go here soon. I'm getting myself together. I had a trip to probably go in 2006, but I did not, I wasn't available. 2006 or 2007. I didn't go on that trip. But the closest I think I've ever came to that experience was up in Nelson, British Columbia. I used to go up to British, it's way up in the Kootenai Mountains. And I understand when people say they want to feel safe. That's the first time I guess in my primalness and my whole, and your being felt safe. I mean, it's like because living in America, you don't feel safe. I mean, there's a part of trying to create safety. But there's so many things happening, and so that experience up in the Kootenai Mountains was really like, wow. I've gone there many times. I mean, I was studying with a group of people that met up there with the Essenes information out of Nelson. And so I would drive up from Seattle all the way up to Spokane, up 395, all the way up to Nelson, and always by myself. Always by myself. And time I hit the Canadian border and headed up to Kootenai, up in those mountains, up to Nelson. When I get to Nelson, there's a different energy that I had never experienced before. So I understand that on a small scale, but I don't understand it from the scale that you were talking about, and what it feels, in a different in a reality that you're not having to always think about safety as you do here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I think when people talk about something that I hadn't realized an anxiety I'd kind of been having was especially around like the randomness of violence here in the US or
Right.
just the amount of gun violence we have being out of the country for a little over a month. And I stopped over in Amsterdam on my way back. And obviously, there's danger everywhere, but not having the omnipresent
Right.
uh, presence of just like knowing that that is something that could happen and is very common
Right.
um, where we live was also, I think, it just was a huge like just lift off of my chest. Um, and I, I think that sometimes when I travel, at least, I sometimes I'm like, oh wow, this place is like so magical, and I wish I was here. But I really also am kind of taking away from this trip, like, how can I bring back with me that spirit of rejuvenation to improve the community that I'm in.
Right.
That feeling of safety and lightness.
Right.
How is that something that I can continue to replicate
Right.
in my own communities that I live in? And I think, there's also just something really enchanting about travel in general and how every place is so vast and so diverse. Uh,
Right.
and sometimes, like, I just marvel at, like, there's so many countries, and in just one country, you might see, there's the northern part of Tanzania is different than the southern part. The coast is different than when you're heading farther west. There's so much diversity in culture and language, and um, even though Kenya and Tanzania, both countries, speak Swahili, it's different. Culturally,
Right.
it's different. The presence is different. The people are different. And so, there's so much magic and experiencing the
Hmm.
richness of the diaspora and just how vast the diaspora
Right.
really is.
And the one thing that the West has done is that all of Europe got to be nations. I mean, they might have been tribal at one time. But all of the Native Americans, Native people, in the African countries wind up being tribes, and but they were all different nations, like you just said. I mean, even before the colonizers, they weren't all speaking the same. They were all speaking the different languages, and they might cook rice, but they might have cooked it differently. And so the people that's not European has been reduced to being tribes instead of nations. Like all these Native Americans, they were all different nations here. That they, and there was many of them. I mean, 18 million people are, and must or more got killed, and they still dying. But so people sometimes don't understand that when you say a tribe, then you kind of like script people of another form of dignity because they were not tribes, they were nations of people. You know, just like the French was a nation. I mean, and Germany is a nation. They might have been trifling maybe 1,000 years because they were fighting for 1,000 years before they decided learn what to do is stop fighting and then to go fight everybody else. But I always thought that was odd once I learned that was part of how you discount other human beings by lowering their status. And so the only countries that can be a country and people not be tribes are call them tribes and stuff like that. So I mean, because it's just another form of how people are treated in the world. That's just my little uh this is how I look at it, but it could be different from your point of view.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think language is so important in the way that we choose to talk about Africa as a continent. Even the fact that a lot of times, there's 54 countries, 56 if you're counting disputed territories.
Right,
And, I think that even when people think of Africa, right, they think of exactly kind of how you described it. They think of a continent with tribes. Most people can't name very many countries
right,
on the continent, and people have a really deep misunderstanding.
right,
And there's a lot of dehumanizing that
right.
happens in the West. And
That's
I
right.
agree. I think that starts with the ways in which history about Africa in
Right,
general is
right.
taught,
That's right.
and then the language that's used,
That's right.
even, you never hear empire used. It's always the Roman Empire, but there are a lot of ancient classic empires that occurred
Right,
across the continent,
right.
Um,
That's right.
and when we think about the history of the world, oftentimes there's this perspective that Africa, and I say Africa in the way in which people see it as one place.
Right. Right.
They see it as developing,
Right.
and
It's
they
never
don't
contributed
recognize.
anything.
Yeah, they don't recognize that amongst the 54 countries, thousands of tribes, almost over 3,000 languages that are spoken on the continent, that these are people who have always been a part of ancient history, that have always
Right.
been a part
Always
of
been a part of ancient history. That's such a good
the
point.
world.
And actually and we're part of those people, you know. I mean, even though we've been gone for 500 years or almost 500 years, doesn't mean that we're still not a part of them, because that original mother, whatever country or whatever part of Africa she came from, is mothering us still today, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, honestly, this is while I was there, I went out one night and there was a lot of different types of music being played from across the diaspora. There was soca, there was um, you know, reggaeton being played, there was Afro beats, there was like African American music, and it kind of dawned on me. I just had this moment of like, wow, it's so wondrous how, although the diaspora is so vast and so diverse, it all, you know, translates over, and music and food and even sometimes cultural practices, like there's so much connection amongst the diaspora, and I think it's really beautiful.
Right.
um and so, when you're halfway across the world and you're hearing you know a reggaeton song, I think there's something very just magical about how
Hmm.
that connection um is still there. We still have these remnants
Hmm.
of, culture that connects us.
Well, yeah, I believe that. I believe too, although I have not been there, but I mean, you know, just a student and listening to your father and watching the videos and, you know, seeing the people, how happy they are at times when they're, you know, celebrating and those kind of things. We're going to take a break right now and come back and continue. I want to hear a little bit more about Ebony and some of her experience when we get back, okay? We listen to Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. We'll be right back.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
All families are different, and some have parents or children with little to no eyesight. But this doesn't stop them from sharing the work, play, love, and laughter of family life. Eyesight doesn't define a parent, a child, or a family. What counts is being together. Want to learn more? Visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Talk radio with a purpose. Alternative Talk 1150.
You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host from Walden. Thank you for that song. I like that song. I remember Miriam Makeba when she was singing that song. Of course, she was from South Africa, but she was considered a queen of Mama Africa. So during her time, so I'm sure there's someone else that's absolutely singing very good music. But I guess I wasn't aware of all those until I was doing some research. Welcome back, Mr. Acacia Salisbury, who recently just came back from Tanzania. Some people call it Tanzania, and has been there many times. And she's going to continue to tell us about all the good times she had when she was there. So yes, welcome back, Miss Salisbury.
Thank you for having me. I think I we were touching on Tanzania and East Africa, and I just wanted to contextualize for folks. So Tanzania is a coastal city. It's right below Kenya, and it's on the Indian Ocean. And so I spent most of my time in Dar es Salaam, which is a coastal city. But the first week I was there, with my aunt. We spent most of our time in Zanzibar, and Zanzibar is an island off the coast of Tanzania in the Indian Ocean.
Wow.
And I I tell people like if you're gonna go to Tanzania, you have to go to Zanzibar because it is such a beautiful and magical place and it has such a rich history. And so I got to experience both sides of it. It wasn't as historical as some of the trips that I went on as a kid, where we did a lot of the deep dive into the history. But I did get to explore a lot of Stone Town, and a lot of
What
people,
what is Stone Town?
Stone Town, it's a town
Okay.
in Zanzibar.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's called Stone Town because it's mostly made stone. It's beautiful. The whole town is made out of this really beautiful stone. And it's very walkable. It's mostly like
Okay.
cobblestone. So you can walk everywhere. It's uh a little hectic sometimes because there are like motorcycles that are passing through and different cars and things. But it's very, I mean, Zanzibar is known for its night market. So, at night, almost every night, you go out right there on the ocean. There's all these different vendors who are out, selling food. They're trying to compete for your attention. There's kebabs, fresh seafood. They're really known for it's like a Zanzibar style pizza. Um, and so it's really a beautiful and lively place. And then the other side of the island, we also spent some time at a resort that's locally owned, and that was beautiful as well. And just spent some time on the sand, in the ocean, um, taking some moments of relaxation. And so there's a lot to do in Zanzibar. We didn't this was a little bit more of a laid back trip. So we
Right.
didn't keep a really strict itinerary, but there's swimming with dolphins and whale
Oh,
sharks,
oh,
and
wow.
there's an island called Prison Island where they have these tortoises that are huge. They are very old tortoises.
We say they're very old.
They're very old. The bigger they are, the older they are. And so um there's a lot to do. And I would say, even for if you're into history, one of my favorite things about Zanzibar is they have these gorgeous doors. They're wood carved doors.
Right.
Um, and they all have these really intricate, beautiful patterns. Um, Flowers and vines and those types of things. They're all hand carved. Um, and then oftentimes you'll also see like brass studs put into the door. It's one of the things that Zanzibar is really famed for, also known as like Swahili doors. But they actually originate to the Middle Ages, kind of going back to what we were talking about
Right.
how the continent's always been a part of the ancient world. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, if you're a history buff, Zanzibar is such a magical place to go and explore and really sit in history.
I
Um,
know that I know that Ebony, when I saw her the other night, about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, she just got come back, and we were at an event. Your dad was a speaker, the keynote speaker, and the glow on her face was just as bright as the sun. I've been knowing Ebony for a long time, and that face of that glow and that smile and the happiness that was exuding from her, actually from the inside, it was just tremendous. I'd never seen before, and you could. Then she said she got her hair done there, and she was just happy. I mean, it was another kind of happiness, and it might have been part of that safety and feeling different, and that kind of stuff, So it was really if because I know her, so it was really just a difference that I had not seen before, and I said, "Wow, this made an impact on her." And like a lot of people, it does make that impact. And she said she wanted to go back.
Yeah, I mean it's a very restorative place. So, it makes sense to come back with that glow. I think there's something just extremely restorative is really the best word that I can use to describe the experience.
Right. And you and your brother have been going there. I mean, how old was you when you went on your first trip?
I think I was 10 the first time that I went.
10. Okay. Yeah, yeah. And I know you've gone many times, and I know that once you and your brother presented at Kwanzaa about your experience there.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I will say I think going as a child is obviously a really amazing experience. And I think that those trips really were instrumental in shaping my larger worldview. Um, I do think that going as an adult, you have a greater awareness of some of those anxieties that come with living here in the US.
Yes. Hmm.
And so the experience, it just feels different, I think. I feel
Right,
like it's still almost like going for the first time in some ways.
right,
Um, because when you're a kid, you're just not necessarily as aware, I think,
right. Aware
certain,
of. Hmm.
yeah, aspects of,
Hmm.
adult life. And so, yeah, I mean, I think everyone should go.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
think all Black people should have the opportunity
Yes.
to return to the continent at some time. I think,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, although I grew up going to Tanzania, I think a really, really special trip for me was getting to go to West Africa, um, and going to Nigeria, uh, because that is the west coast of Africa is
Right,
where our ancestors were taken from.
right,
Um, and so, everyone, every Black person should have the opportunity to return back and just experience, just
right.
be, um, and reconnect in that
But
way.
but also get beyond the mythology of what the West has told you, because it's all a myth. You know, the West, the mythology of American history and world history, it's just a myth. You know, I mean, I none of it is really true the way that it's been presented. And I think one of the best
Absolutely.
ways to do that, and of course, one thing about the ancient people who I don't know, have you been to Egypt too, Acacia?
I've not been to Egypt. I hope to go next
Well,
year.
yeah. I know that the people who have gone, I mean, one thing that the ancient did, they chisel what the people look like in stone. So you could get all the denials about things, but they were smart enough to do that. So, I think that that's really important for people to go and, like you say, going at an early age. I mean, because I mean, I was at the school once when the teacher and the system here is so bent on keeping us in the idea of slavery. And the teacher asked your brother, he asked the class to name the country, the flag of the country where they were from. And it was only like two of the African American kids could say something. I think one little boy might have been from Jamaica, or his parents was from Jamaica, so he could talk. And your brother only said, "Oh, he put up the Tanzania flag." But all the other kids could say they were from Ireland. I mean, all these other places. And I think that's another way to keep us in the slave mentality, because it's like, okay, now why would you ask that question? I mean, what enlightened teacher would ask that question to a class of the stolen ones? I mean, we were stolen, and you're going to ask that question. And I was saying, wow, but he was so on it. He was on point. Yeah. That's what he did. And so it's like there's so many things in America that want to keep us in a certain position and alienate it from the places that we can really get some connection from. See, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's lots of different ways that we are alienated. And I also think, you know, um having a better understanding of the rich history across, all 54 countries gives us also a better understanding of what has happened. And I think allows for us to build better camaraderie
Right.
um, within the diaspora. And I think, I think about that a lot of just how, there's so much that's happening, and we as Black Americans have a very rich history of camaraderie and allyship with causes and actions that are happening on the continent. Um, and so, I think about all of the efforts that Black Americans advocated and pushed for towards ending apartheid. And so, I think that even as we think about cultural connections, there's also always an opportunity for us to be um, politically and ethically connected in supporting one another. And I definitely think that history and correcting the Western view of history is a great entry point into that. And even an opportunity for us to lean into parts of our own history that's been hidden. The connection between Black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved and the continent never really ended.
Right.
Scholars, uh, all types of people continued to we've continued to have relationships and to build ideologies and to even return throughout, the last couple hundred years. And so, I really do, I hope everyone gets to go, and I hope everyone gets to engage in that very rich history.
Well, this is wonderful. One of the places I want to go, not only to Tanzania, but Egypt, but I also want to go to Cape Town. I also want to go to South Africa. I want to be at the point where the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean meet.
Oh,
I want to,
wow.
I want to see that, And
Yeah.
I also want to take a trip to the on the Nile. You got the Blue Nile and the other Nile, but they both they travel south. I mean, they go north into the Mediterranean, and I love rivers that flow north because in Sanford, Florida, we had the St. John River, and it flowed north up to Jacksonville and on out to the Atlantic. And so all my life I've been fascinated by rivers that flow north, and the Nile flows north.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah, it does. And so the Pend Oreille here in Washington State, actually, I mean, the Pend Oreille River comes from Montana and it goes on up to Canada. So I just have this fascination. It's kind of weird, but I love rivers that flow north. So it's one of the things that I'd like to do when I do go there, and it goes through Ethiopia because some people have told me about that, about Ethiopia, and one of the Niles is two Niles. I think it's the Blue Nile, and then it's another Nile. So yeah, and then I think then you go to Lake Victoria, and you got that big old fall there in Lake Victoria. So yeah. So yeah, so anyway, I sound like I've been there, but my listeners know I haven't. Miss Salisbury has been there many times, but not me. So, all right, well, this is wonderful. So we're gonna just kind of like wrap this up in a few minutes here, and we want to give a big shout out, to Omari Salisbury is my son, and tomorrow is his birthday. His birthday is June 4th. He's one of those great communicators called Geminis. He do that well, and and he always did like to travel, and we traveled the world with National Geographics. We had like two or three atlas that we'd look at night. That's how we had fun sometimes. As I cut the television off, we had fun in the National Geographic and in the encyclopedias. So what could I say? Well, we had a weird house. So anyway, I want to wish him a happy birthday, and I mean, gee whiz, and I hope he has a great day. I hope I catch up with him tomorrow, and I'm going to give his precious oldest daughter. She has the distinction of being the oldest daughter. To give a big shout out and some words to your dad for his birthday.
Yeah, Dad, I'm wishing you a very happy birthday. I know you're out of town celebrating, and yeah, many, 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 many more.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Wow. And I know that you will be traveling back to Seattle really soon. And you really travel a lot too. I mean, Alma, your cousin travels a lot too, but you're doing a lot yourself. I mean, and you want to just give just a few minutes. We got like 2 more minutes here before the show. Yeah, a couple more minutes here. Would you like to just give you a bio about yourself? I mean, what you doing? I mean, what you inspired to do? What you doing?
Yeah. So currently I'm a project manager, and I am really focused on traveling. I'm applying to grad school, writing poetry, writing essays. Um, and yeah, my eventual long-term goal is to become a published author and to spend majority of my time writing. Um, but right now I'm very focused on some multimedia projects and really traveling. I have a few more trips planned this year. I have a lot of road trips planned, so just really excited. I will be going abroad a few more times, but I am most actually looking forward to the road trips and being able to explore more of what um, the US has to offer. Be driving across country this summer. So, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, I've gone across country many times, but I couldn't drive in those days. I was being driven, but I have been across country more than once, and I like to wind up at my summer, maybe being in Sedona. Maybe going to summer. Maybe I should wait till October to go to Sedona, but that's one of the places I want to go. So it is Sedona, just to get that experience of being there in that land it was still native land, and even though. It's different, but it's still their land. So this is really wonderful. I mean, you do a lot. You have a lot of opportunity and you take advantage of them. And you're a world traveler and you traveling again. So I just like to really appreciate you and the work that you've done and and all the good things that you and how you just really are so helpful and you just have I want to honor you with the virtue of your peacefulness and your kindness and also your consideration and you're always willing to collaborate.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Definitely leaning into the spirit of collaboration.
Yes, 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 that's wonderful. And I want to remind my listeners that this is a podcast, and they'll be able to listen on the podcast real soon. So, and I also just appreciate you for coming on and helping me have a great Monday. Appreciate you. And I want to just thank Eric and Eddie Rye and Mr. Mason for coming on earlier. And you've been listening to the Mothers Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on the air. I want to thank all our supporters and the Virtuous Healing Circles for supporting mothers with police accountability. And I'll talk to you next week. Have a great week. Thank you.